I never thought a piece of mail could make my hands shake. But when I opened that envelope last month, cream-colored, gold-trimmed, thick as gilt, it felt like the air had been yanked out of my lungs. The invitation was short. No personal note, no warmth. Just black serif letters printed with elegance that dripped of spite. You are cordially invited to the 80th birthday celebration of Eleanor Turner. Location, Meadow Hill Country Club. Formal attire, family only. I stared at the words like they were in a language I'd forgotten. And maybe, in a way, they were. Because family hasn't meant much to me in a long time. My name is Camille Turner. I'm 41 years old, a full-time ER nurse in Eastern Oregon, and a single mom to my 12-year-old son, Liam. I got out of a decade-long marriage 3 years ago. One filled with gaslighting, cold silence, and the kind of manipulation that doesn't leave bruises but still teaches you to flinch. The man I married, Max, came from a well-off family. Not rich, but country club Christmas party rich. The Turners never liked me. I didn't grow up with the right last name or the right church connections. I wore thrift store jackets to their brunches. I asked questions that made them uncomfortable. I laughed too loud, they said. When I left Max after one too many nights crying in the laundry room while Liam pretended not to hear, they made it clear. I hadn't just left him. I'd left them. And now, after 3 years of silence, that invitation showed up in my mailbox like a dare. I almost tossed it. But then Liam saw it sitting on the counter. "What's that?" he asked, pouring cereal in his oversized Star Wars bowl. "Just junk," I said too fast. He peered over. "It says Grandma Eleanor. Are we going?" And that's the thing. Liam's never known the full truth. He remembers Christmas cookies and backyard barbecues. He remembers Grandpa giving him his first pocket knife. He doesn't remember the way I was talked over, corrected, smiled at, but never really seen. He just remembers being part of something. So I swallowed the bile in my throat, smoothed the paper out on the counter, and said, "Yeah, I guess we are." The Meadow Hill Country Club looked just like I remembered. Manicured, smug, and silent. Liam straightened his little blazer in the passenger seat while I adjusted my makeup in the mirror, trying to cover the exhaustion that never quite leaves a working single mom. Inside, the place was already full. Laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of a hired jazz trio filled the air. Max's family always had a thing for appearances. Everything was beige, polished, and painfully polite. And just like that, it happened. The moment I stepped in, the room shifted. Not dramatically, but just enough for my chest to tighten. Heads turned. Whispers passed. Max's sister, Jenna, offered a thin-lipped smile. One uncle turned fully away. Liam, oblivious in the way only kids can be, walked in ahead of me and waved. "Hi, Uncle Will." No response. I tried to pretend. Tried to fix a plate of hors d'oeuvres while Liam made a beeline to Eleanor, who was holding court at a table near the window. She looked older, smaller, but her voice still carried that familiar blade. "Liam," she said, arms opening just slightly. "How grown up you are. I suppose your mother finally let you come." I was 2 steps behind him and heard every word. "Good to see you too, Eleanor," I said, forcing a smile. "Oh, Camille," she said, patting my arm like I was the help. "You made it." We found a table off to the side near the wall. I tried to stay calm, to breathe. I told myself it would just be 2 hours. 2 hours for Liam. That was all. But then, right before the toast, Eleanor stood. She tapped her glass with a fork, smiled graciously, and said into the microphone, "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. It means so much to be surrounded by family, by the ones who stayed, who supported, who didn't abandon their commitments when things got hard." Liam froze mid-bite. My stomach dropped. And then she looked straight at me. "Even those who surprised us by showing up." The room laughed, soft, unsure. But the message landed. Liam leaned closer. "Mom, did she mean you?" I didn't answer, because right then, From the far end of the room, I caught Max smirking, and standing beside him, laughing, was someone holding up their phone, recording. That was the moment I realized this wasn't an invitation. It was a setup, and I had walked my son right into it. I wish I could tell you I stood up and gave some powerful speech, that I grabbed the mic and tore into them with all the years of hurt and humiliation bottled up inside me. But I didn't. I just sat there, frozen, my fork resting against a half-eaten slice of lemon tart. Liam still looking at me, waiting for some kind of answer I didn't have the words for. The whole room had gone back to their little conversations like nothing had happened. Like what Eleanor said was just a quaint jab, part of the entertainment. But I felt it hit, like a slap without the sting. The kind that doesn't leave a mark on your cheek, but carves deep into your chest. I tried to excuse us, said we were going to the restroom. Liam followed me, silent. He didn't ask questions. He didn't cry, but he wouldn't look me in the eyes either. And that was worse. We stood in the hallway just outside the ballroom where the jazz trio played their smooth little lies. I knelt down and fixed the collar on Liam's shirt, just to have something to do with my hands. "You okay?" I asked. He gave a little nod, too fast to mean anything. "I know that was weird," I said, trying to tread lightly. He looked at the floor. "I didn't mean to make things weird. I just thought maybe if we came, they'd be normal." My heart cracked clean down the center. "You didn't make anything weird, baby," I said. "None of this is on you." But he wasn't listening. He was somewhere else, somewhere far away from me. Then someone cleared their throat behind us. I turned and saw Max's cousin Troy, the one who always smelled like expensive cologne and contempt. "Hey," he said, smiling like a fox. "Just a heads up. Maybe next time, double-check the guest list. There were a couple folks wondering if you were really supposed to be here." I stood up straight. "We were invited." He chuckled. "Sure, technically. But you know how families are. Blood matters." He glanced at Liam. "Sometimes it's questionable." And there it was. The real wound. The one they'd all been hinting at with their eyes and whispers since we walked in. I took Liam's hand. "We're leaving." Troy smirked. "Didn't mean to upset you. Just saying, things got messy after the divorce. Rumors fly." "Rumors?" I snapped. "You mean lies?" "Tomato, tomato," he said, and disappeared back into the ballroom. We left. No goodbyes. No thank you for having us. Just a tight grip on my son's hand and the sound of my heels clicking too loud on the polished floor. In the car, Liam didn't speak. Just stared out the window, jaw clenched. I didn't push him. I didn't know how. That night, he barely touched his dinner. I found him sitting on his bed, hoodie pulled over his head, the sleeves covering his hands. I sat down beside him, but he didn't move. "You want to talk about it?" I asked softly. He shook his head. Then, after a long silence, he whispered, "Do they hate us?" I closed my eyes. "They don't know us. And what they think doesn't matter." But I could hear it in my own voice. It did matter. And then he said something I'll never forget. They said maybe I wasn't even really part of their family. My hands clenched in my lap. "Who said that?" He hesitated. "Some guy by the drink table. He asked if I was really a Turner." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "And what did you say?" He looked at me then. Finally. His eyes weren't teary. They were just tired. I didn't say anything. I just walked away. My throat closed up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive back and drag every last one of them into the street. But instead, I wrapped my arms around him and held on as tight as I could. "You are my son," I said. "That's the only family that matters." He didn't say anything, just rested his head on my shoulder. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I went back into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, picked it up. Hey, Camille, it's Ivy. I used to work nights with you at the ER. I was at the party. I think you should see this. Attached was a video. I tapped play. And there, in grainy, too-close footage taken near the bar, was Max, laughing, saying something I couldn't quite hear until the volume spiked. She doesn't get it, man. Liam was never mine. I always had my doubts. But whatever, she needed a father figure, I guess. The video ended. I stared at the screen, the glass slipping slightly in my grip. That was it. The slap had finally landed. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I lay in the dark, the silence screaming louder than any insult I'd ever heard. That video kept playing in my head, over and over again. Max's voice, casual and cruel. She doesn't get it, man. Liam was never mine. Like I was some desperate woman using her kid as bait for a lifetime role he never asked for. Like our family, our whole damn life, had just been one long pity favor. I couldn't decide what made me sicker. His words or the fact that someone had filmed it at the party like it was just a bit of drunken gossip. Ivy had sent the clip without commentary. She didn't need to explain. The truth was already loud enough. By morning, I was shaking. Not crying, just shaking. You ever been so angry your body doesn't know where to put it? That's where I was. Rage without direction. Liam came into the kitchen in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "Hey, Mom," he said, like nothing had happened. Like his whole world hadn't been pulled out from under him 12 hours ago. I wanted to protect that calm, that innocence. But I also knew I was done lying by omission. "There's something I need to tell you," I said, kneeling so we were eye to eye. He blinked. "Okay." So I showed him the video. I didn't look away. I didn't soften the sound. I let him hear it all. His face changed as it played. Confusion, hurt, then something colder. When it ended, he was quiet for a long time. "Is that why they were all weird to me?" I nodded. "Do you think Dad really believes that?" I took a deep breath. I think he wanted to believe it. So he didn't have to feel bad about leaving. Liam's voice was flat. So he just made it easier for himself. "Yeah," I said. "He did." He stood up slowly. "I want to go to school." "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I need to feel normal for a few hours." So I drove him. And the second he closed the car door behind him, I broke. Not the kind of crying that comes with sobbing or gasps. Just this deep guttural release. Like something inside me had finally split open and the light was too much. By noon, I was sitting in the small break room of my friend Emma's office. She's a family lawyer. We hadn't talked in months, but I texted her 2 words. "I need help." She brought me tea and tissues and let me spill the whole thing. When I showed her the video, she didn't blink. "You want to pursue legal action?" she asked. "I want to bury him in truth," I said. She nodded slowly. "We can file for defamation and emotional damage, but you need to be ready for pushback. Max will deny, deflect, he'll weaponize whatever he can." "I'm not scared of him anymore," I said. And I meant it. That night, I told Liam we were going to see a therapist. Not because he was broken, because I refused to let this break him. He didn't argue. He just asked, "Are you okay, Mom?" I looked at him. My kid. My whole reason. "I wasn't," I said. "But I think I'm getting there." The next afternoon, I got another message. Same unknown number as before. "I thought you should see this too." Another video. This time, Max was in a dim bar. Same party night. His voice slurred, posture cocky. I mean, I knew she'd snap one day. That's why I kept the file, just in case she tried to make trouble. A guy off camera asked, "What file?" Max smirked. "The one with the hospital stuff. Liam's birth record. There's something in there she doesn't want people to see." I hit pause. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I was going to throw up. I had no idea what he was talking about. No clue what file he meant. But now I had two problems. One, Max didn't just want to discredit me. Two, he was holding something over my head, something tied to my son. I opened my laptop, heart pounding, and logged into the hospital system I hadn't accessed in years. I typed in Liam's birth date, my own credentials, and waited. And then I saw it. An attached document I had never been sent. Never signed. Paternity test request. Submitted 2 weeks after Liam's birth. Requested by Max Turner. I stared at the screen. I had never consented. Never been informed. And the results? Pending. No sample provided by mother. But the request, it had been there all along. Max had tried to have me tested behind my back, and now he was trying to use it like a knife. I didn't cry when I saw the paternity test request. I didn't scream. I just went cold. It was like something inside me shut off. A switch flipped from survival to war. This man, who used to call himself a father, had filed a secret test 2 weeks after Liam was born. Behind my back, without telling me. He had tried to legally question whether Liam was his before our son could even hold his own head up. And now, a decade later, he was still waving it around like a loaded gun. I sent the screenshot to Emma. 5 minutes later, she called. "He used your name in the request," she said, "but didn't get your consent. That's a violation. It's also medical fraud if he implied you approved it." "Can we use this?" I asked. "Oh, we're not just using it," she said. "We're building around it." 2 weeks later, we were standing in front of a family court judge. I had never been in a courtroom like this before. The walls were sterile, the air tight, but my hands didn't shake. Not this time. I wasn't there to plead. I was there to expose. Emma laid it all out. The party humiliation, the video evidence of Max's statements, the emotional distress caused to Liam, and finally, the secret paternity request. I watched Max's lawyer squirm, watched Max sit there, arms folded, expression cocky, like this was just another show he planned to win. But he hadn't counted on one thing. Liam. The judge turned to my son. "Would you like to say anything, young man?" My stomach clenched. I hadn't pressured him to speak. I'd told him he could sit silently. But Liam stood. He looked small in the room. Just a 12-year-old in 2 big khakis and a borrowed dress shirt. But his voice was clear. "My name is Liam Turner. I know people in this room don't think I'm enough. Or maybe not even real family. But I know who's raised me. Who stayed when things got hard. And it wasn't him." He pointed to Max. It was her. He didn't cry. He didn't stutter. Then he sat back down. The judge paused, looked at Max, and said flatly, "Mr. Turner, this court finds your actions to be manipulative and damaging to the mental health of a minor. Pending further review, you are barred from contacting Liam Turner without written consent from his legal guardian." I exhaled. My knees nearly buckled. I had won the first round. But what came next? I couldn't have predicted. That evening, after the ruling, I was putting dishes away when my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I was expecting another message from Ivy or maybe a reporter. The story was spreading in local parenting groups. I'd started getting messages from other moms who had been through the same kind of emotional warfare. But this message wasn't a video. It was a screenshot. And it was from Max's email. Subject line, prenup, final edits, custody clause language. Just in case she breaks again. Attached was a PDF of a document, clearly marked confidential, drafted 6 years ago. In it, Max had written in a clause proposing that if I were ever found mentally unfit, he would automatically be awarded sole custody of Liam. I stared at the screen, numb. The file was real. Signed. Dated. But here's the part that made my skin crawl. The date of the draft? 2 weeks before our second wedding anniversary. 3 months before he first suggested I should talk to someone about my emotional outbursts. He'd been planning this. Not just the paternity test. Not just the public humiliation. He'd been building a legal trap since Liam was in diapers, not because he loved his son, not because he wanted custody, but because he wanted control. He wanted a backup plan, a weapon. I forwarded the document to Emma. Within minutes, she called. "Camille, do you understand what this means?" This wasn't just manipulation. This was premeditated parental coercion. "We can escalate this." And just like that, everything changed. I wasn't fighting for dignity anymore. I was fighting to make sure no one else ever had to live under the weight of his threats again. The revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't petty. It was legal, relentless, and permanent. The hearing room was packed tighter than usual that morning. A different courtroom this time. A different case. Not just family court. This was civil and criminal. Because the moment Emma found that prenup draft, she filed for intentional emotional abuse, coercive control, and attempted medical fraud. Max showed up with a new lawyer. Older, sharper, probably more expensive. But even the best legal defense in Oregon couldn't unring what was already echoing in that courtroom. We had the emails. We had the video footage. We had the testimony of a 12-year-old boy who'd been made to question whether he belonged in his own bloodline. And above all, we had a documented trail of intent to destabilize. Years of calculated language, backdoor legal maneuvering, and whispered doubts planted like weeds in our lives. The judge wasn't emotional. She didn't have to be. Her ruling was clinical. Clear. Brutal in the most beautiful way. Max was found liable for damages related to psychological distress and reputational harm. He was ordered to pay a settlement that would cover Liam's future therapy, educational needs, and legal fees. But that wasn't the part that made him pale. It was when she said, "This court formally recognizes Mr. Turner's behavior as a sustained pattern of coercive abuse. Custodial rights are permanently revoked. You are to have no contact with Liam Turner unless he initiates such contact as an adult, at his sole discretion." I watched Max's smirk finally fall. He didn't rage, didn't shout. He just sat there, stone still, like someone had slammed a door shut that he never imagined would lock. Because deep down, men like him don't think they'll ever lose. They think silence means agreement. They think smiling through your pain means they've won. But that day, he lost everything that gave him power. He lost the narrative. Outside the courthouse, the sky cracked open and dumped rain across the parking lot. It felt fitting, like some kind of rinse, even if it couldn't clean all the years behind me. Liam was waiting in the car with my friend Eleanor. He asked, "Is it over?" And I said, "Yes, it's really over." We drove home in the rain, the windshield wipers beating steady like a second heartbeat. Back in our apartment, Liam went to his room and pulled out an old drawing from when he was 5. It was of the two of us, me in scrubs, him with a red cape. He said, "I think I always knew." I nodded. Me too. Weeks passed. We didn't celebrate. We didn't throw parties or post online. But I did do one thing. I opened the middle room. It's not a business. It's a space. A blog. A forum. A safe corner of the internet for women like me. Women who didn't get hit but got broken in quieter ways. Women who got gaslit until their own reflection felt dishonest. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't need to. It just exists. And sometimes, that's enough. Last Thursday, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was familiar. Stiff. Precise. Inside was a short note from Max's mother. Just one sentence. "You've made things harder for all of us." No apology. No remorse. Just more blame, stuffed in an envelope. I didn't reply. I folded the note, slipped it into a drawer I never open, and went to make dinner. Because that's the thing about healing. You don't need everyone to say sorry. You just need yourself to stop apologizing for surviving. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. The moment you stop trying to be palatable to people who profit from your silence, that's when you start getting free. Not loud. Not perfect. Just free. If any part of this story hit close to home for you, I'm here. Really. Feel free to share in the comments if you're ready, or just read and know you're not alone. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, no sugarcoating, subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. Thanks for listening. Truly.